Tolu's journey begins as she arrives in the United States, full of hope and excitement, ready to make a name for herself in the corporate world. Having left her family and life in Nigeria behind, she is eager to prove that her hard work and talent can break through any barrier. The firm where she works is prestigious, and landing a job there was no easy feat. Her early days are filled with optimism as she quickly makes an impression with her sharp intellect and problem solving skills. However, Tolu soon begins to notice subtle signs of indifference. Her colleagues seem friendly on the surface, but she occasionally hears remarks about her different background, skin color, and how she might struggle to fit in. Brushing it off, Tolu stays focused, determined to let her work speak for itself. But these small microaggressions plant the seed of doubt in her mind, and she wonders if her path to success will be as smooth as she hoped. Tolu's boss, Mr. Thompson, is a seasoned executive with over 30 years of experience. On the surface, he seems quite professional, even supportive of Tolu's early work. However, it doesn't take long for her to sense that something is actually off. While he praises her accomplishments in front of others, in private meetings, he finds ways to undermine her confidence, questioning her every move, her ideas in ways that leave her second guessing herself, often dismissing her suggestions without proper consideration. At first, Tolu chalks it up to a difference in communication style, but soon she realizes that his behavior is part of a larger scheme. Despite her excellent performance reviews from peers and co-workers, Mr. Thompson begins to offer feedback that doesn't align with her success, leaving her confused and frustrated. As she navigates these challenges, Tolu starts to feel the weight of being a black woman in a predominantly white corporate environment. Can I survive this? She would often think. As weeks go by, Tolu experiences more stares and side talks as she walks the hallway. Colleagues make offhand comments about her accent, questioning her understanding of the American culture, and express surprise at her intelligence, as though they didn't expect it from someone with her background. These seemingly small issues causes Tolu to feel increasingly isolated in her workplace. She begins to question whether her identity as a Nigerian woman is a disadvantage in this environment. Her self-confidence wavers, and the pressure to prove herself mounts even taller. Outside of her workplace, Tolu struggles to explain her situation to friends and family back home, who see her new job as a dream come true. But the emotional toll in the beginning was taking its toll on her mental well-being, and Tolu wonders how long she can endure this silent battle. Mr. Thompson's undermining behavior escalates when Tolu is assigned a very high-profile project. Excited to prove her abilities, she pours her heart into the work, staying late and delivering an exceptional presentation. However, when it comes time for the team to review her performance, Mr. Thompson claims that Tolu missed the mark and failed to understand the project objectives. Like how? Tolu is stunned. Not only did she follow the guidelines, but she also exceeded everybody's expectations. But with Mr. Thompson controlling this entire narrative, her colleagues begin to doubt her competence. It becomes even clearer to her that his intentions are not to mentor or even guide her, but to sabotage her efforts. Tolu's frustration grows as she realizes that no matter how hard she tries, she would always be that Nigerian, the one set up to fail and struggle in the white corporate environment. Tolu's colleague Tessa has been watching every single thing unfold. She is aware of Mr. Thompson's treatment of Tolu, but like many others in the company, she is hesitant to speak up. Tessa is conflicted. On one hand, she sympathizes with Tolu and recognizes the systemic racism at play. On the other hand, she is afraid of risking her own career by standing against the company's powerful executives. Tessa keeps her distance from Tolu, torn between her own ambitions and her sense of justice. Their once friendly relationship had become even more strained, and Tolu feels more alone than ever. As Tessa's internal conflict continues to grow, she knows that staying silent would only make her complicit. Well, Mr. Thompson's action had even become more blatant than before, which makes Tessa question whether she can live with her inactions. The final straw comes when Tolu is deliberately excluded from a critical meeting that could have significantly advanced her career. Mr. Thompson forgets to inform her, leaving her out of the loop on a key decision. When Tolu confronts him about it, he dismisses it as an innocent oversight, but she knows better. This incident marks the point where Tolu can no longer tolerate the sabotage and racism she's been experiencing. She contemplates filing a complaint with the HR, but she is well aware of the risks involved. The company has a reputation for protecting its executives, and she fears retaliation. At home, her personal life is suffering under the strain of work. Her long-distance relationship with her boyfriend Emeka is at the brink of doom as she becomes emotionally distant, unable to share the full extent of her struggles. Determined not to let Mr. Thompson's behavior destroy her entire career, Tolu begins documenting every instance of sabotage and bias she faces. She keeps detailed notes of meetings, emails, and interactions, building a case against her own boss. While she initially considered leaving the company quietly, her anger and frustration push her to fight back. Tolu realizes that going through HR alone won't be enough to bring real change. She begins researching legal options, but more importantly, she considers how she might expose the broader culture of racism within the firm. It's a risky move, yes, but Tolu is determined to make sure that no other black woman in the company has to endure what she's been through. Tessa, who has been watching from the sidelines, finally approaches Tolu. In a heartfelt conversation, she admits that she's seen everything, but was too afraid to speak up. Tessa expresses her guilt over not supporting Tolu earlier and offers to help her fight back. This marks a turning point for both women. While Tolu is initially hesitant to trust Tessa, she realizes that having an ally inside the system could be invaluable. Together, they start planning their next step. Tessa provides insider information on how Mr. Thompson has manipulated HR and performance reviews to undermine Tolu. With this new information, Tolu feels more confident in her plan to expose the company's discriminatory practices. The two women form an unlikely alliance, united by their shared goal of holding the company accountable. Tolu and Tessa work together to gather as much evidence as possible. Tolu continues to document every instance of bias, while Tessa discreetly collects internal communications that show how Mr. Thompson has manipulated the company's evaluation process. The more they dig, the more they uncover about the systemic racism that has been quietly running through the company for years. As they build their case, the pressure of Tolu increases. She is walking a fine line between keeping her job and preparing for a fight that could end her entire career. On the other hand, Tessa is risking her position by helping Tolu, knowing fully well that if they are caught, both of their careers could be over. But despite the risk, they press on, knowing that they are fighting for something even much more bigger than themselves. One night, after an exceptionally grueling day at work, Tolu comes across a social media post from a black-led social justice organization. The post details a similar case of workspace discrimination that gained national attention after going viral. Inspired by this story, Tolu realizes that a viral expose could be the key to not only holding Mr. Thompson accountable, but also exposing the company's deep-rooted racism. She shares the idea with Tessa, who is initially hesitant. Going public is a drastic step, and the potential backlash could be severe. But as they weigh the pros and cons, they both agree that this might be their best chance at real justice. Together, they begin reaching out to the organization, hoping to partner with them on the expose. With the support of the social justice organization, Tolu and Tessa begin crafting a plan to expose the company's racist practices. The organization helps them strategize how to present the evidence in a way that will resonate with the public and spark outrage. They also guide Tolu on how to protect herself legally, ensuring that she won't face retaliation or defamation claims once the expose goes live. The plan is to release a detailed account of Tolu's experiences, complete with the evidence she and Tessa had gathered, in a social media campaign. They will leverage the power of hashtags, influencers, and activists to spread the story far and wide. The goal is not just to expose Mr. Thompson, but to force the company to confront its systemic racism on a public stage. As Tolu and Tessa begin to prepare for the expose to go live, tension builds up within them. Tolu continues to work at the company, pretending that everything is normal, even though she knows that the storm is about to hit. Every day feels like walking on eggshell, as she is constantly aware of the risks she is taking. At home, Tolu's personal life reaches a breaking point. Emeka, her long-distance boyfriend, expresses frustration with their strained relationship, feeling that Tolu is keeping him at arm's length. Tolu knows that she can't fully explain the magnitude of what she's facing without jeopardizing the plan. The secrecy creates a rift between them, and their once strong connection begins to fray. Despite her emotional turmoil, Tolu decides to remain focused on the task at hand, knowing that the stakes are too high for her to back down now. Meanwhile, Tessa also faces growing anxiety. She's never done anything this bold in her entire career, and the fear of being caught weighs heavily on her. Yet, the thought of not standing up for what's right pushes her even more forward. Both women brace themselves for the impact of their decision, knowing that once the expose is live, there's no turning back. The day finally arrives, and with the help of the social justice organization, Tolu and Tessa launch the viral expose on social media. The post features a detailed account of Tolu's experiences, screenshots of damning emails, and evidence of Mr. Thompson's blatant attempts to sabotage her career. It's a powerful, well-crafted narrative that immediately begins to gain traction online. Within hours, the post starts to go viral, with thousands of shares and comments pouring in. Influencers, activists, and even high-profile figures begin to weigh in, demanding accountability from the company. Tolu watches as her story spreads like wildfire, both exhilarated and terrified by the overwhelming response. She knows that her life will never be the same, but she's ready to face whatever comes next. As the expose gains momentum, the company scrambles to control the damage. Mr. Thompson is immediately called into a meeting with the upper management, who are now forced to confront the evidence against him. He denies everything, claiming that Tolu's accusations are baseless and that she's simply playing the race card to cover up her shortcomings. However, the evidence is too overwhelming to ignore. The company launches an internal investigation to save face, and Mr. Thompson is placed on suspension pending the outcome. The media begins to pick up the story, adding even more pressure on the company to take swift action. Tolu's co-workers are shocked, and some even approach her to express their support, though many still remain silent, fearful of becoming collateral damages. The exposé becomes the talk of the town as the media picked up on the story, turning it into a national headline. News outlets run pieces of the workplace discrimination, systemic racism, and the broader issue faced by black professionals in corporate America. Tolu's story becomes a symbol of hope for a larger fight against corporate injustice, sparking a wider conversation about diversity and inclusion in the workplace. Tolu receives countless messages of support from strangers all over the world, sharing their own experiences of discrimination and thanking her for speaking out. Despite the overwhelming attention, she remains grounded, knowing that her fight isn't just for her, but for all who have been silenced by similar systems of oppression. Under immense pressure from the public, the company releases an official statement acknowledging the allegations and promising a thorough investigation. They claim to take the issues of diversity and inclusion seriously and pledge to make changes to their internal policies. However, many see the statement as nothing more than damage control and a way to protect their reputation without addressing the root of the problem. Despite the company's public stance, Tolu remains skeptical. She knows that the real change takes more than just a statement, and it requires accountability and genuine commitment to dismantling the structures that enable racism to thrive. Still, she is heartened by the fact that the conversation has begun, and the company can no longer ignore the issue. As the investigation progresses, more evidence of Mr. Thompson's misconduct surfaces. Former employees come forward with their own stories of discrimination and unfair treatment, further implicating him in a pattern of abusive behavior. The company is left with no choice but to fire him, a move that sends shockwaves through the corporate world. Mr. Thompson's downfall is a victory for Tolu, but it's bittersweet. While she's relieved to see him held accountable, she knows that her journey isn't over. The company may have rid itself of one bad apple, but the systemic issue that allowed his behavior to go unchecked still remained. Tolu resolves to keep pushing for deeper change, knowing that her fight has only just begun. In the midst of the media frenzy, Tolu's personal life also begins to shift. Emeka, who has been watching the events unfold from a distance, finally reaches out to her. He apologizes for not understanding the weight of what she's been going through and for pulling away when she needed him the most. Their reconciliation is emotional as Tolu opens up about the struggles she's faced, both at work and in their relationship. Emeka reassures her that he's committed to supporting her, and they begin to rebuild the connection that had once been strained. Their reunion is a reminder that while Tolu has faced her battles alone, she's not truly alone in the world. Tolu's story continues to resonate with people across the world, particularly with the Black community. She receives invitations to speak at events, podcasts, and panels about her experience and the importance of fighting against systemic racism in the workplace. She embraced as a symbol of resilience, and her voice becomes a rallying cry for others facing similar struggles. Though the attention is overwhelming at times, Tolu finds strength in knowing that her story is making a difference. She reconnects with her roots, drawing on the lessons of perseverance and community that her family instilled in her. Her younger brother, Tope, reminds her that success is not just for herself, but for everyone who comes after her. This fuels her determination to continue the fight for justice. With Mr. Thompson gone and the company's reputation damaged, Tolu is approached with numerous job offers from other companies that admire her courage and talent. She's carefully considered her options, wanting to ensure that her next role is with an organization that truly values diversity and inclusions, rather than just paying lip service to it. After careful reflection, Tolu decides to move on to a new company that offers her the kind of environment she's been searching for, a place where her talents are recognized and celebrated, and where she can continue to grow without the barriers she faced in her previous roles. Her departure sends a clear message to her former employer. They lost a valuable asset because they failed to create an inclusive workplace. Tolu's new job is everything she hoped for. She is welcomed with open arms, and her contributions are valued from day one. The contrast between this environment and her previous one is stark, and Tolu feels a renewed sense of purpose and confidence. For the first time in a long while, she no longer feels like an outsider. She belongs. Her new colleagues are genuinely supportive, and the company has a clear commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Tolu's experience has made her more resilient, and she uses her newfound platform to advocate for systemic change, both within her new company and in the broader corporate world. She is determined to ensure that no one else has to go through what she did. As Tolu settles into her new role, she begins receiving more invitations to speak at industry conferences and career events, particularly those focused on diversities and inclusion. She takes these opportunities to share her story, not just for a tale, but as a call to action for companies to address the systemic racism that still plagues many workplaces. At one such conferences, Tolu delivers a powerful keynote speech, sharing the challenges she faced and the lessons she learned. Her words resonate deeply with the audience, many of whom are women of color who have experienced similar struggles. Tolu's final message is clear: we belong in every room where decisions are made, and we will no longer be silenced. Tolu's story continues to inspire others, and soon, more women of color begin sharing their own experiences of discrimination and workplace sabotage. What started as a single viral expose has grown into a larger movement, with individuals and organizations rallying together to demand greater accountability from corporate leaders. Tolu becomes a central figure in this movement, using her platform to amplify the voices of others who have been marginalized. She partners with advocacy groups to push for policy changes, both within companies and at the governmental level. While the road ahead is still long, Tolu is encouraged by the progress being made and the sense of solidarity within the community. Back at Tolu's former company, the fallout from the expose continues to unfold. Mr. Thompson's firing was just the beginning. Now, the company is facing lawsuits from former employees who experienced similar discrimination. The board of directors is forced to confront the fact that systemic racism wasn't an isolated issue, but a pervasive problem within the corporate culture. The company begins to implement diversity training, hire more people of color, and create even new policies to ensure that discrimination is addressed more effectively. However, many see these changes as too little, too late. The damage to the company's reputation is done, and they struggle to regain the trust of both their employees and the public. As Tolu watches these changes, she reflects on her journey. What started as a painful, isolating experience of sabotage and racism has led to a powerful movement for change. She is proud of what she has accomplished, but she knows her fight isn't over. The battle against systemic racism in corporate America is far from won, but Tolu has carved out a space where her voice and the voice of others like her can be heard. She reflects on the personal and professional growth she's undergone, the relationships that have strengthened and faltered, and the resilience she developed along the way. Her journey has not only shaped her career, but also deepened her understanding of her identity and purpose. Tolu is no longer just a brilliant professional working to climb the corporate ladder. She is now a leader, an advocate, and a symbol of perseverance in the face of systemic oppression. With her newfound platform, Tolu commits herself to continuing the work of dismantling the barriers that have held her back. With her career now on a solid footing and her reputation as a trailblazer established, Tolu begins dedicating more time to mentoring young professionals, especially women of color. She hosts workshops, speaks at schools, and offers guidance to those navigating the challenges of corporate life. Her mentorship is rooted in authenticity. She doesn't sugarcoat the difficulties, but instead equips her mentees with the tools and strategies they need to succeed and thrive. Tolu also works closely with advocacy groups to create scholarships and training programs for underrepresented groups, helping them break into industries that have historically been difficult to penetrate. Her work is driven by the belief that real change starts with opportunities that were often denied to people like her. By giving back, she hopes to create a ripple effect that will empower future generations to overcome the challenges that once stood in her way. Tessa too experiences her own personal transformation in the aftermath of the expose. Once hesitant to challenge the status quo, she has now become a vocal advocate for diversity and inclusion within her company and beyond. Inspired by Tolu's courage and determination, Tessa finds her own voice and uses it to speak against the injustice she once stayed silent about. Her career takes a new direction as she becomes involved in corporate social responsibility and leads initiatives aimed at addressing bias and fostering a more inclusive workspace culture. Tessa's friendship with Tolu strengthens as they continue to support each other, bound by the shared experience of standing up for what's right. Tessa's journey from silent bystander to active ally is a testament to the power of personal growth and the impact one person's courage can have on others. Throughout her journey, Tolu's connection to her family in Nigeria has been a constant source of strength. Despite the physical distance, their support has never wavered. In a heartwarming moment, Tolu returns to Nigeria for a visit, reuniting with her family and reflecting on how far she has come. Her parents, siblings, and extended family are immensely proud of her accomplishments, but more than that, they admire her resilience and dedication to standing up for her values. During her visit, Tolu takes time to give back to her home community by organizing a series of career workshops for young people in her hometown. She shares her experiences, offering advice on navigating both global and local challenges, inspiring the next generation to dream big and persevere in the face of adversity. The trip serves as a reminder that no matter how far she goes, her roots will always be a key part of her story. Tolu is invited to deliver the keynote speech at a high-profile career conference for Black women in technology and business. It's a full-circle moment for her, a chance to share her story on a platform that she could only dream of. As she stands before the audience, she reflects on her journey, from the dark days of being undermined and sabotaged at work to her triumphant rise as a leader in her field. Her speech is powerful and heartfelt. She speaks about the importance of perseverance, the need for systemic change, and the value of community and support. She urges the audience to take pride in their identities and to not let anyone make them feel like they don't belong. We belong in every room where decisions are made, Tolu says. Her voice, strong and clear. Never let anyone make you feel otherwise. The audience respond with thunderous applause, moved by her words and inspired by her strength. As Tolu moves forward in her life and career, she remains committed to the fight for equality and justice. She continues to use her platform to advocate for change, pushing for greater accountability and representation in corporate spaces. Her story has become a beacon of hope for others, a reminder that resilience and courage can overcome even the most entrenched barriers. Tolu's future is bright, filled with new opportunities and continued growth. She knows that the fight for justice is ongoing, but she's ready to face whatever challenges come her way. With the support of her community, her family, and the countless people she's inspired, Tolu confidently steps into the future, knowing that she has the power to create lasting change, not just for herself, but for generations to come. Her story serves as a proof to the strength of the human spirit and the power of standing up for what's right, no matter the odds. Tolu's journey is far from over, but she's more than ready for the road ahead.